Welcome to the PT Legends podcast, where co-host Dave Bess and myself, Scott Carpenter, share our journey and secrets of success. From our humble beginnings as personal training employees of a big box gym to struggling studio owners that have made every mistake in the book, to where we are now, the owners of a multi-seven-figure business operating multiple personal training studios internationally, and now coach and mentor to fitness professionals in 5 countries and counting. This is our story, and these are our secrets. Subscribe to our podcast, learn, take action, and build your own fitness empire. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the PT Legends Show. I am your host, Scott Carpenter. Got a very special guest on today's episode. We're going to go over scaling the one-on-one coaching experience with simple technology with Trevor Wittwer. He is the owner of a software company called Coach Catalyst, which is amazing. I'm sure you've heard of it. Before we get to that, this episode is, of course, brought to you by PT Legends, where we help you shatter the glass ceiling in your business by teaching the exact steps on how to, at the very least, double your current monthly rates for new clients and charge your true value. What if every client paid 2 to 3 times more than they currently are? How would that change your business? More importantly, how would that change your life for you and your family? This is what we teach you how to do without any more work than you're already doing. If you're interested, go to ptlegends.com or book a call from the link in the show notes if you are ready to learn more. Now back to the show. Trevor, thank you for coming on.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely,
excited to be here.
Man. It's something we've been wanting to do, but schedules and everything going on.
Right.
Life. My wife had some surgery and this and that, so we've had to push it. But finally, it's great finally getting you on.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Yeah, I'm excited to chat with you a little bit.
Yeah, and the cool thing is because we've talked a couple times, and so listeners, like he's the owner of Coach Catalyst, which I'll let him describe it. He'll do a better job than I will. But as I have seen it, you can build out your fulfillment programs for coaching and nutrition and exercise programs, all that kind of stuff. And it's really habit-based, extremely customizable and habit-based. And I am a massive proponent of habit-based coaching as opposed to some other apps that are very, very restrictive, that just don't allow you to really take somebody along a path how they need to be taken.
Right.
So you've done a great job in building that app.
Thank you. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, so I'm not a tech guy. Like I'm only in the tech world because it was something that needed to be developed that wasn't in the industry. And so my background is in gyms. And so I have your kind of quintessential personal trainer story, right? Where I was training my mom and my stepdad out of the local community center and eventually created a big enough clientele. I was able to move into my own space, created a gym, and that one gym is now turned into 4 gyms. And so I still live and breathe the gym and the coaching space on a day-to-day basis. I still have teams there. I still meet with them. I still train some clients a couple of days a week because I love coaching. But what happened was in that whole process, we really wanted to create like a boutique style coaching gym that really cared about their members and really got their members results. So probably just like a lot of people listening to this, you don't want the big global gym where you have 10,000 members and 200 show up, right? You want to actually know every person and you want to help them change their lives. And so at the time when all this was happening, I just got certified by Precision Nutrition. I just done their level 2. So I was part of their beta, kind of their first group that came through that. So I was deep into the behavior change, deep into nutrition. And we were really trying to figure out like, how do we implement this with our clients? And it's easy if you just have like 2 or 3 clients, like, oh yeah, cool. I'll just like text you and like, you just let me know how you're doing every day. But at the time we had like a 220 person gym. And so we were trying to do it with like 100 different people at one time. And honestly, what we were doing right away is we had pieces of paper. We put them like printed it on cardstock, and it was like habit 1, like eat slowly. And then it had like 14 boxes and they mark off whether or not they did it on that day. And then below it had some education, like why should you be eating slowly, how to do it, set a timer, yada, 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 whatever. And they would literally like, we'd hand them the first one. They'd go home, they'd hang it on their fridge, they'd mark it all off, right? And then they bring it back 14 days later, and then we'd get it, then we'd file it away, and then we'd give them the next one. And then they kind of would go through this process. And it was fine when we only had a couple people doing it. But once we said I had like 50 people doing it.
So old school. I love it.
it just became like a mess, right? Like,
Yeah.
what habit is this person on versus this person, and how successful were they with it? Like, it was just like, it was a complete mess. And really the final turning point for us, and like, we need to do something, was 6-week challenges were a big way for us to generate leads at the time. And so we were running massive ones. We were running ones with like 100, 150 people in them. And so we did awesome from the exercise fulfillment aspect of it. Like, classes were great, classes were packed, coaches were great. They were doing a great job there. And we could tell, like, is someone showing up to workouts? And really the turning point was, and I clearly remember this, I was doing a weigh out with somebody. So we're weighing them out at the end of the 6 weeks. And our promise during those 6 weeks was that we're going to get them to 10 pounds of fat loss. And so this lady steps on the scale and she looks at the scale, and I'm looking at it, and she gains 3 pounds. And I'm just like, as a coach, that's like your worst feeling in the world. I'm like, she was showing up for workouts. She was doing what she needed to do. But obviously, everyone listening to this, we know that nutrition is the bigger piece of it. And we had given them all the nutrition information. We had given them the recipes. We had given them the client guide. We had given them all the information they needed to be successful. But we didn't have a good way to know if they were actually executing on that information, right? So there was this huge gap. And that was the final straw of like, you know what? Like, we need to figure out how to hold our clients accountable when they're not with us, and help know how they're doing on a day-to-day basis. So at that time, Coach Catalyst is 6.5 years old. So this was probably 8 years ago, because we spent about 1.5 years of like doing stupid stuff and like trying to get stuff off the ground and like starting any new business. And so about 8 years ago, and there was nothing on the market. Like, I would have bought whatever was on the market, like, at the time, because we needed something to hold our clients accountable. There were things where you could there was Kajabi, where you could like put information out there and like have it kind of drip fed if you needed to. But that's great from an information delivery standpoint, but we needed coaching. Like, I needed to know, like, are my clients successful? Are they being successful? Were they successful today? Were they successful yesterday? Were they successful the day before? Because if I can catch that client when they've only had maybe 2 bad days in a row and help them get that third day to be really good, the likelihood of them now turning that into 2 or 3 good days is much higher. Where what happens to a lot of people is they have 1 bad day and they have 2 bad days, and then it's 3, and then it's 4, and then it spirals into screw it. I don't really care anymore. Like, I'm done. And then it's not until the next time you meet with that client, like, hey, how'd the last 2 weeks go? Right after I left the meeting, I was doing great. But then the next day, my dog threw up on the carpet and my kid was sick, and, everything hit the fan. And then I was just like, screw it. I'll start, on Monday, or I'll start the next time we meet. And had I known in that moment that they had a bad day, I could have helped coach them into a successful next day. But there just wasn't anything out there, unless you were like texting every day or sending email. And that's just like, that's not a scalable
overwhelming
process.
100%. You can't do it. You can't do it.
And so like, we're like, all right, there needs to be a system. And the only way you can do it is with technology. Like, you could hire people, I guess you could hire VAs, or you could try and do all of that, but that becomes very cost prohibitive and very expensive and a lot of logistics. So it's like, there has to be a tech way to do this. Yeah, it's not what I want to do. And so like, it's all right, there's no tech out there that does this. Okay, we think this isn't a really complicated concept. Like, we're not building the next crypto company. Like, it's just like, it's coaching, right? Coaching comes down to really like 3 things. I need to educate the client on what I want them to do and give them the why and the how and all that, so they can execute it effectively. I need to hold them accountable to actually executing it, because that's where the magic is. That's where change actually happens. Mm-hmm. And then the third thing is, I need to have an easy way to connect and communicate with them, so that we can change course, so that we can move in different directions if we need to, and not like go back and forth on like email threads and like trying to find them in Facebook Messenger and then WhatsApp. And then like, there's 15 different ways that I'm contacting this client. We need kind of that centralized communication. And then through that communication, we're going to build some connection, and we're going to build some rapport with that client. And then the likelihood of that client staying a lot longer is much higher, because the more connection you have to a client, the longer they're going to stay. And then once we kind of got this thing off the ground, we built it, we brought it back into our challenges, and we noticed something really profound, is that we were getting more signups when we were running the challenges through the software into memberships than we were before. And the only reason was because we were getting more people results. More people were getting to the finish line, because anyone that's run enough challenges, there is a certain percentage of drop off. Like, there's just going to be like 10 to 20% of people that sign up, but they just don't do anything. Like they barely show up for workouts. They don't do any of the nutrition, and they just ghost you after like 2 weeks, and you just never hear from them again. It's really common for your, $50 to $300 challenge, right? Like it's just happens. And so what we found is we're now getting 95 or higher percent of people to the finish line, which meant we're getting that many more people results, which means that many more people are then converting into members. And so our conversion percentage from challenge to actual members just went way up because we were just doing what we, had promised at the beginning, because we actually knew on a day-to-day basis, this client, is this client being successful with nutrition today or not? Like simple, like, did they follow the plan today? Yes or no? Yes. Awesome. Congratulations. No. Okay. Let's figure out what happened and let's get you a yes tomorrow. Like, how do we do that? And so it was just coaching, right? But we have technology now so we can scale it, right? Because that's what we talked about at the beginning, or really the title of this whole thing is like, how do you take the one-on-one coaching experience where you have all the time in the world to nurture and help that person be successful? How do we scale it to 50? How do we scale it to 100? How do we scale it to 200, but not lose the one-on-one coaching experience?
Yeah.
And the only way you can do it is with technology. So
yeah, I totally agree. And I've gone through every iteration, even when I was working for Lifetime Fitness, managing 20, 30 trainers.
What lifetime were you at?
So I had my quarter life crisis. I from the Midwest, had my quarter life crisis because I got my corporate job, hated it. I could see where my life was going. I'm like, might as well just kill me now. So I just quit my corporate job. I moved out. I visited Arizona, the Scottsdale area, twice. Okay. In the end of the summer and then the winter. And then between the beautiful women and the palm trees and the sun and pools everywhere, I'm like, I am gone. Quit my job, moved out here. And then I started working for the Lifetime Fitness in Scottsdale.
Okay.
I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I'm like, let me do something I'm actually passionate about. And I gotten into health and fitness over the last couple of years.
Nice.
So I started working the Scottsdale one here, got promoted to an assistant manager. And then I went to the one in Goodyear, Arizona.
Okay. To
run the department there before I bought a failing business and resigned.
Well, the reason I asked, I'm in Minnesota, so Lifetime's headquarters.
Oh, that's their headquarters. And I've been to the headquarters there when I had to get trained on when I got promoted.
What's actually kind of crazy is Lifetime Fitness is located in Twin Cities area. Snap Fitness is located here. Anytime Fitness is located in the Minneapolis. Yeah, they're all kind of headquartered here. So it's interesting, but fun fact.
Interesting. Well, that's good to know, because when I go out there and talk to Brahma Karate about how he needs to hire me to get his friggin' personal training department in shape, I'll stop by anytime, and I'll stop by Snap too.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That's cool. But yeah, it's anything through there, and it's very hard to scale nutrition coaching. Incredibly difficult
to scale it well.
Yeah, to scale it well. And not just to the point where, you're doing all of it too. What if you want to scale it down to your employees? Well, a lot of times that's where it can break down.
Yeah. Because
they can't explain it as well, or this or that or the other. And that's, you got to have the technology to help out.
Mm-hmm. And that's how, so when we talk about these three tenets of coaching, right? The education one, that's your client fulfillment process. That's your kind of client journey, right? And you can build it as a creator in a very specific manner. Just like we'd build any client journey for someone starting a gym or things like that. There's certain touch points that we want. And there's certain times when we know that client maybe will start to fall off, or they'll start to lose motivation. And you can build these really cool client journeys. So how we built in Coach Catalyst was a simple drip sequence. You could deliver daily information if you wanted to. You could deliver video content. You could deliver audio content. You could do pictures, GIFs. You can put links into Google Drive or links out to websites or articles or whatever. But you could set it up once, right? I could set it up as the content creator, as the expert, but then I could bring my coaches on who aren't necessarily at the expert level that maybe I'm at, or the creators at, but they know how to coach people. So the content is all there. Like, you can just press play on it, but now you bring that coach in to help support that client along the journey. And they don't need to be an expert in nutrition. They just need to know how to help people, care a lot about people, and be able to coach that client along in the process. Obviously, the more knowledge they have, the better they're going to be at it. But I don't need a master's level or a doctorate level or even like a PN level to coach to try and coach this client. Like, and so
you need to have confidence in nutrition, but you don't need to know the ins and outs, because guys, the less you teach about the technical side, the better your results are going to be. It just needs to be all about the actions those people need to take.
100%.
And it's keep them in the bumper lanes, keep them in the bumper lanes.
And it's not, and like good nutrition, like is not rocket science. Like we all know it, right? Like it's like, probably need to eat some more protein. Probably should have some more vegetables. We should probably eat a little less of like the refined carby stuff. We should probably stop drinking soda and sugar and do more water. And so we say this a lot for general population, but even like elite athletes, like pretty much everyone, if they just did the basics better, like they would get great results.
It's all white belt moves that get the job done.
Right.
That's it. And that's where people struggle.
Yeah.
People struggle doing that. And that's where the value of the coaching comes in, is you need to help them be able to implement these easy, they needs to become easy. Right.
Right.
And it takes a while to retrain those habits.
And probably one way that we develop the software versus other things that are on the market now is we prioritize first and foremost, like, did the client do the thing they needed to do? Like when you go to your coach's dashboard, that takes up the majority of what you see. Did they do the thing they needed to do? And so we actually have the last 7 days, and there's greens and there's reds. Green means they did it. Red means they didn't do it. So you can look at your dashboard of 100 different people, and because it's color coded, you can just see, okay, cool. Scott's on track. Trevor missed the last couple of days. Okay, reach out to him. Or, hey, these clients all checked no the last 3 days. I'm going to just send a mass message. So I'm going to send one message to all of them because they all kind of look like they're happening the same thing. And then I'm going to send that message in a way that I'm going to get a response, and then I'll have the one-on-one conversations. So what we like to do, and we like to teach at Coach Catalyst, is you have that kind of one big message that goes out that gets the client to respond. And then once that comes back, now we have the one-to-one messaging. Mm-hmm. And so one unique thing that we built in the software is you can actually place messages on the client journey. And so you can say on like day 7 at 8 a.m., I want you to send this message. And it looks and feels like Trevor just typed out that message and pressed send to me, but you can automate it along that journey. And so those messages are typically a way to get that client to respond back to you. And then you have an organic conversation. So we kind of want to automate that initial thing that goes out, and then it becomes organic after that. Because what happens to a lot of coaches is you just forget, right? You're like, hey, I wanted to send that thing, but then I got busy working with a client and I forgot. And so we can automate that journey so that that client experience is seamless. And then you jump in as the coach. And when that client has issues, you're helping them out. When they respond back, now we're having that organic conversation. But I don't need to remember to send that initial kind of first one, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because that's the whole thing. When a system that you're doing on your own might be fine. But again, it gets really hard when you got a lot of clients. And where it really breaks down is when you try and hand it off to other employees. That's where most people get stuck.
Yep.
Because they're not as motivated as you. They might not be as organized as you. Any number, or educated, whatever, any number of those things. Right. And something like this really helps get that leverage. And because I'm a huge fan. I mean, you've got multiple locations, right? I've got 6. I'm a huge fan of a simple business that can run without me, because I don't have time to run them, and I don't have time to oversee really anything. So the scaling has to be really there. And so you guys know too, that obviously we've developed our 63-day transformation, right? Which is habit-based. It's super easy, shows everything just like that. Very customizable, private labelable. But so you guys know too, is, I'm currently talking with Trevor, and we're going to look into kind of bringing our program onto his platform, because there's a lot of advantages that brings. And again, just the messaging and being able to build out more automations and this and that. It's what he's built. There's a lot of things out there, guys, right? You guys know there's Trainer Eyes, there's True Coach, and there's this and there's that. But what he's built is really special. And I think one of the coolest things that I've really seen is that I was introduced to you, I think maybe through Scott Ramage. And
yeah, I think it was through Scott. Yeah,
I think. And, but also, we work with tons of gym owners, right? And some of them already use you. And anybody I've ran into anywhere that uses you or whatever has nothing but great things to say about you personally, which is really hard to come by. And not just personally, but professionally too. Right? Super responsive. You are on the ball. You're a genuine person. And that's really what attracts me to want to work with anybody first and foremost.
Yeah.
Is I want to get to know, and I want to do business with good people who I resonate with.
So that was actually a very conscious effort from the beginning. And there's a few things there. One is customer support is really important to us. And so like that is a big priority, where coaches can really get a hold of us at any time. If they need to jump on calls, like we'll bend over backwards to help coaches be successful. And the other thing too is, since the beginning, we've tried very hard to be like Switzerland, where we just try and do the best to play with as many people as possible, because the industry is very small. When you think about it in the grand scheme of things, if you look at just fitness and health, it may seem like it's really big, but once you get deep into the industry, it's like, it's not really all that big. And so, you make one person mad or this person mad, and that trickles down pretty quickly. So we've been fortunate enough to do a good job of playing Switzerland, since the beginning. And I mean, we know like there's other players in the space. And since we launched, so originally when we launched, right, we were more, I would call us like behavior change and nutrition, because when we launched, like the thing was so basic. There was an action every day and there was a lesson every day. Like that's what we launched. That was our MVP. Mm-hmm. And so it has evolved like 100 times over since then, but that's what we launched with. So we were very much in like the behavior and nutrition space. When the pandemic hit, we weren't ever going to build workouts. Like that wasn't like going to be our jam. Like we're just like, like we're going to stay in the nutrition space. We're going to stay in the behavior change space. Then the pandemic hit. And then we had a lot of our coaches that were using two things. So they were using us, and then they were having used one of like the workout builders that are out there. And so we're like, all right, cool. We'll build the workout builder. So we went and built that so coaches could just have everything in one system. And it's evolved since then. So now we've kind of effectively thrust ourselves into that space. But I would say our uniqueness about it is we come at it from a behavior change space and less of like a workout builder space. Mm-hmm. So we're more concerned about you actually taking action and knowing if you're taking action, and less concerned about like your volume of weight lifted in the last week. Like for the 1% of coaches that actually need that information to make changes, like we're not a good software, right? That's not who we're trying to attract. We want the coaches that are going to change people's lives, and you change people's lives by having them actually execute things. Did they do the workout or not? Like, mm-hmm. Did they execute it or not? And so that's where we prioritize things. And then the other thing that we developed right from the beginning is content. And so we have like 30 plus programs on the system, everything from like 5-day, 7-day lead gen, like 7-day detox, or like a 5-day flexibility challenge, all the way up to 6-week challenges. And then we even have like a 6-month habit coaching program, from like my PN background. And so a coach can come in and just swipe something that we have and just start executing it right away. So I think we have over like 1,000 different lessons that are on the platform. So that education piece has always been a really important piece to us. And so we've spent a lot of time building that out and curating content and making sure that it's solid and research backed and research based and like cited and like all of that kind of stuff, so that coaches can use it. But then also coaches can change it. So like how I speak to my clients at my facility is probably different, Scott, than how you might speak to your clients at your facility. Like a CrossFit gym is going to be much different than a women's only gym. Like mm-hmm. the language is going to be different, right? Like at a baseline principle, like everything is the same, right? We still drink water, we still eat veggies, we still have plenty of protein, but how you convey that to your audience is probably a little bit different. So that was another thing that at the beginning we wanted to be very conscious of, is like how I coach is probably going to be different how you coach. And so even though we're saying the same thing, we're going to say it differently. So you should be able to say it how you want to say it. And so 99% of the content's ready to go. You go in and kind of tweak some things, tweak some colors, make it fit your vibe, because we want to highlight you as a coach. Like the client doesn't care at all who Coach Catalyst is. And so, and we don't care at all about that aspect. We want to highlight the coach and make them look awesome. Because our thinking is that the coach looks awesome and they're having a great time and their clients are having a great experience because we developed a good client app. Now we're going to do well as a company. And so that's just kind of how we have thought about it. And our evolution to this space has been more that direction rather than like, hey, let's build a workout builder and give online trainers a way to build workouts for their clients.
This is absolutely how it should be. The workouts, guys, as you know, the workouts are overrated.
Right.
They're necessary. The workouts are necessary, but you're just splitting hairs at a certain point, and it all is going to work for your average person for 90, right? Unless you're those elite athletes, you need something incredibly specific and everything. For your average everyday person, for over 99% of the people, they just need to work out. And so the rest of the hard work is not, the 3-4 hours they're working out in your gym or by themselves, wherever it is. The hard work is the other 165 out of 168 hours in the week.
Right.
That they're making nutritional decisions and sleeping decisions and this, and that, the other. That's where all the results come.
Right.
That's it.
And I mean, what we're seeing in industry too is, so the industry has been heavily dominated by fitness, right? Since like the bodybuilding days, everything has evolved around like fitness and getting more fit, whether it's gaining muscle, even like losing fat to an extent, right? Aerobics, all of those things, everything's been based around fitness. What we're starting to see in the industry is clients are coming to us and they're wanting this kind of like whole life thing, right? They're like, hey, I know I need the workout fitness piece, but I also know I need to work on this stress piece. And I know I have this nutrition piece that's an issue. And I've been hearing a lot about recovery and HRV and like these other things. And I think I need to work on that as well. And so as a coach, your skill set has to expand outside of just workouts. And now we need to touch into nutrition. We need to touch into recovery. We need to touch into sleep. We need to touch into stress management and being able to craft programs around that. And being able to do things like what you're doing with PT Legends is you're creating this like transformation program. And it's not just transformation from a physical standpoint. There's a mental component to it. Mm-hmm. There's a nutrition and dietary component to it. And like, it's this complete human transformation. And clients are coming asking for that. And so if as a coach, if you don't have that skill set or you don't have the programs to be able to execute on that, you're not going to give that client what they truly want. Like if you have workouts, you're going to give them workouts, but it's like what they kind of need more. And so we're just seeing that the consumer in the market is now become more aware of these other things, and they want to do more than just, hey, yeah, I know I need to work out. And that's maybe why I'll show up 3 times a week, but I know I need to work on these other things, and I'm willing to pay more to do that. And so having these kind of like ancillary services or creating these transformation type packages where it's like, hey, we're going to do everything for you right here. Yeah, it's going to be higher ticket, but we're actually going to get you the result that you truly want. The result most people don't want to just come into a gym 3 times a week and get sweaty. Like that's not the result they're looking for, right?
That bears repeating because people can just understand that. Yeah, you're right. But really think about that, guys. Nobody wants to work out. Less than 5% of your people really want to work out. Like those are the freaks. Okay. Everybody else, they want to get some sort of result. They're coming in because they're not happy with themselves in some way, shape, or form. They don't feel comfortable with their weight, the way they look, their self-confidence, their social confidence. They might be tired. They might be just feeling like they're waking up and it's whack-a-mole and they can't get through the days. They lack priority. They haven't made themselves a priority in life. That's why they're coming into your gym. So they're coming in to see you. They're not coming in for the workouts. So stop talking so much about your dang workouts. Right. And you talk about really figure out that bleeding neck issue and sell that solution, what they really desire, that transformation that's specific to them. That's what you're selling. And workouts are a part of that. Yes. What about the other 165 hours in the week? That's what you really need to sell. And when you do that, that's why people will pay $2,000, $3,000, $6,000, $8,000 for a 9-week program designed to solve that bleeding neck problem. Right.
The more you can connect your solution to their problem, like the higher you can, the higher the price point, right? Absolutely. Like, if I know, and I have the social proof that like, hey, this person is going to directly solve my problem right now in the next 9 weeks, cool, sign me up, right? But if it's kind of like, well, we have workouts, right? And like, we'll give you some stuff to work on some of the other stuff. Like I'm not as confident, right? In that person being able to solve my problem. And even like workouts are a part of it, right? But like most people, like the act of working out is not always all that enjoyable, right? And so it's the feeling that we get afterwards, and we know it's a necessary part of the process. But again, like I see in the industry too much talk about the workouts. Well, this is why our workout is awesome, or we have this proprietary technology that allows our workouts to do this or that. It's like, most people don't care. They want to, lose the 10 pounds. They want to sit through the night. They want to do X, Y, and Z.
And everybody's doing that too. Everybody's just trying to convince other people they have the best workouts. And it's just impossible to do. Right. Because people prefer different things, right? And there's no way you can give the best workout, and people won't pay you much for workouts because they're cheap. They're everywhere. Right. They're free. You can Google them.
Yep. And so like people pay for coaching. They pay for the transformation. They pay for the accountability. And that's actually one, I mean, we have a fairly expansive intake form when people come in. We want to know why they're coming in and, you know, what they want to accomplish, yada, 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 and like where they've struggled in the past. When accountability comes up time and time again, they want someone to help hold them accountable to being successful. And if you don't have systems in place to actually do that, like how do you actually, if you're just running workouts, like how do you hold someone accountable? Is it just like you go into MindBody or whatever and just like run workout reports and see who hasn't shown up? Like, yeah, you're holding them accountable actually working out, but actually, are you holding them accountable to the things they need to do to accomplish the transformation that they told you they wanted when they came in? Right. And so that's where technology comes into play, and the whole kind of reason behind this talk, whether it's Coach Catalyst or whether you find another solution, like you need to, I call it shortening the gap or getting rid of the gap that happens, right? So when they're in front of you, they're motivated, they're great, they're doing their thing because they're in your presence. But once they go away, we call that the gap. And so once they go away, how do we get rid of that gap so that we can continue to be with that client even when they're not with us? And so that's how we view technology at our facilities is, hey, even if that client goes away, we're still going to be with them. They're going on vacation. Cool. They're getting their workouts in the app. Mm-hmm. Cool. We don't need to go on hold. We don't need to go on hold. Like, I'm going to give you your vacation workouts and you can keep rocking and rolling. When you're doing meals, when you're doing this or that, we have all our resources in there. So everything is available to them right there. And then we have it all branded. So everything is connected with our brand. And so our app is orange. Our gym is functional fitness. It's like, if they need anything from us, boom, they open that thing up. They send a message in. It goes right to the coach. It goes right to our admin. If they need to, you know, look at their in-body results or any results that we're putting in there, all their graphs and charts are in there. Recently, we just did a bunch of integrations. So now we're pulling in data from like Aura, Garmin, Fitbit, Apple Health, pretty much all of the major wearables on the planet. So as a coach, if I'm looking at recovery, if I'm looking at stress, I can go in and look at someone's Aura results without them having to send it to me. I just pop into their profile. Oh, okay, cool. What's your HRV done over the last 2 weeks? What's your respiratory rate been? What's your sleep looking like? And so I now have information to coach that client effectively, rather than the old process is a questioning process. You meet with that client. Hey, how did things go? How are you feeling about this? And it's all recall, memory recall, and it's not true data. And if you've worked with people long enough, you know that memory recall isn't like an effective way to get truthful information ever, right? Because they're always trying to like look a little bit better or embellish a little bit.
It's 99% of the time. How'd it go? Oh, pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. I could have been better here and there, but overall pretty good. Well, I mean, newsflash, like, you know, pretty good doesn't tell you shit.
Right.
It could literally be 63% compliance or 92. It's the, they perceive it the same way.
Right. And so honestly, now in my client meetings, I pull up the data, and if we're doing habits or we're doing something where they're checking in on a regular basis, we pull it up and like, hey, man, in this habit, you were 90%. Awesome. Like, do you feel confident in that? Can we progress it? Yeah, let's do it. Hey, this one looks like you were about 50%. You kind of did it every other day. What were the issues here? And it looks like on the weekends, you never did it. What was going on there? Okay, let's dig into that. And so now it gives me information as a coach, so I can be a more effective coach. Absolutely. Right? And we look at the data, and then we can see, all right, cool. This is what it looks like this week. Here are the changes we're going to make. Here's what it looks like the next week. And we can have a very kind of a very client-driven, very data-driven approach to it, rather than just, hey, how did things go? They were pretty good. Okay, how did the water thing go? Well, I think this day I did really well, and then yesterday I did awesome. But right when we like, there's just like, we don't know. Like, is this right information? Is it the wrong information? How do we move forward? And so, like, our goal at Coach Catalyst is really to do two things. One is to give the client or the coach all the information they need to know about a client to make really good decisions. So, is the client doing the things they need to do or not? What does their data look like? Is the metrics that are important to that client, maybe it's weight loss, maybe it's body fat percentage, maybe it's resting heart rate, whatever, they can look at that data and make decisions based upon that data, outcome-based decisions. Am I getting the client closer to the outcome that they want, right? And then how do we help a coach scale that efficiently without losing the one-on-one experience? And that's really where technology comes into play. Is I can coach 50, 100 people in the same amount of time I could coach 5. Just because I have technology doing all the admin crap that no one wants to do, sending out the the educational thing, making sure the client checks in for things, housing all of the information, and not having to try and cobble together like Excel spreadsheets and Google Drive and WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger and using this other thing for workouts. It makes it simple for the client. And then kind of the last thing on that is perceived value, right? So when our clients download our app from the App Store that has our logo and our branding all over it, like there's a perceived value in that versus me saying them a Google Drive. Like we have spent the money to create this thing to help provide a better experience for our clients. And so if you're charging high ticket for something and you have all of these branding things in play as well, it's all congruent, right? But if I'm charging, let's say $1,000 a month, and then I send you a Word document with some stuff on it, like the congruency isn't quite there, right? It may be effective and it may be the exact information, but it's just perceived differently. And so that's just another way to think about it as we start to move up our Ascension model into kind of higher price programs.
That's excellent. Yeah, I mean, he truly built something special here. And so where should they go to kind of learn more or test drive this thing? Where's the best place, Trevor?
Yeah, so CoachCatalyst.com obviously is the best place to go. If you just type in Coach Catalyst to Google, it'll all pop up. We have a 14-day trial, so you can get in and play with everything, check out all the done-for-you programs, play with it with yourself as a client, and get in there. We're on Instagram at Coach Catalyst HQ, on Facebook, Coach Catalyst. And so we have a free Facebook group as well, where we kind of share things that we're learning from other coaches on the platform. We have thousands of coaches on the platform, so we get a lot of data from all over the world. But yeah, that's probably the best way to get a hold of us.
Perfect. That sounds great. Go check it out, guys. We'll leave the links in the show notes for you. So if you need to get that, check that out. Trevor, thank you so much for coming on.
Scott, thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. And everyone, thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to the show, leave us a review, share this with somebody that could really use this kind of software or anything like that. Check out our free resources in the show notes, and we will see you next week on the PT Legends Show. Dave and myself, Scott, would love to thank you for tuning in and listening to the PT Legends podcast. You can get direct access to us by joining our free Facebook group. Go to www.facebook.com/groups/7-figure personal trainer. That's 7-figure personal trainer with the number 7. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you can keep on learning and keep on living. Finally, if you picked up any tips whatsoever in this episode that you found helpful, be sure to leave us a review and tell us what you like best about it. Can't wait to see you on the next episode.